Let me ask you something. How often do you feel like you're falling behind? Like you're doing everything right, putting in the effort, making sacrifices, and yet nothing is happening. You pray, you hustle, you show up, and you keep pushing forward, but it seems like the breakthrough isn't coming. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's what you need to understand. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God isn't working. See, we live in a world that tells us everything has to happen now. Instant success. Immediate gratification. We want the promotion, the relationship, the opportunity right here, right now. And when it doesn't happen on our timeline, we start questioning everything. But listen, God's delays are not his denials. Sometimes what you're waiting for isn't being withheld from you, it's being prepared for you. And more importantly, you are being prepared for IT. Feeling behind is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. You look around and see other people achieving things, getting the promotion, buying the house, starting the family, living the dream, and you start asking yourself, why not me? What am I doing wrong? But let me tell you something. Just because things aren't happening on your timeline doesn't mean they won't happen at all. The truth is, there is no such thing as behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be. See, we've been conditioned to believe that success and happiness follow a set timeline. Graduate by this age, make this much money by that age, be married by now. And when life doesn't unfold according to that script, we panic, we compare, we doubt ourselves. But here's what you need to understand. Your journey is unique. No two people are meant to walk the same path at the same pace. Imagine planting two different trees. One is a bamboo tree, the other is an oak. The bamboo takes years to break through the soil, while the oak starts growing sooner. But when the bamboo finally grows, it shoots up almost overnight, reaching incredible heights. Now, was one tree behind the other, or were they just growing in their own time? It's the same with your life. Just because your breakthrough hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean you're not growing. Some of the most powerful growth happens beneath the surface where no one can see it. You are not behind, you are in preparation. Every setback, every delay, every challenge you face is shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for what's coming, because when your time comes, things will happen so fast you'll wonder why you ever doubted. That's how life works. One moment it feels like nothing is happening. The next, doors are opening, opportunities are flooding in, and suddenly everything makes sense. But you'll never get there if you keep measuring yourself against someone else's clock. Stop worrying about where you think you should be. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 30. Your journey is unfolding exactly as it's supposed to. And when you finally step into your moment, you'll realize you were never behind. You're just being prepared for something greater. There are moments in life when it feels like nothing is happening. You pray, you work, you do everything right, but the breakthrough doesn't come, the doors don't open, and no matter how hard you push, it feels like you're stuck in the same place. It's in those moments that doubt creeps in. You start asking, God, do you even hear me? Are you even there? It's frustrating, it's painful, and sometimes it feels like he's forgotten about you. But listen to me. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God isn't working. His delays are not his denials. What looks like silence is often preparation. What feels like waiting is actually refining. God is not ignoring you. He is shaping you, strengthening you, getting you ready for what's ahead. Because sometimes the thing you're asking for is big, bigger than you even realize. And if he gave it to you too soon, you wouldn't be able to handle it. Think about a child asking for a car before they know how to drive. A good parent doesn't say no forever. They say no yet. Because they know that without the right skills, without the right preparation, that same blessing could become a burden. God is the same way. He sees the road ahead. He knows what you need before you even ask. And sometimes he's not just preparing the blessing for you, he's preparing you for the blessing. Think about a seed buried underground. It looks like nothing is happening. Day after day, it's hidden beneath the soil, but beneath the surface, roots are growing. Strength is building, and when the time is right, it breaks through, stronger, taller, and more resilient than it ever could have been without that hidden season. You might feel buried right now. You might feel forgotten, but God is using this time to establish your roots, to make sure that when you rise, nothing can shake you. Because when he moves, it won't be a slow process. It will happen suddenly. Doors will open that no man can shut. Opportunities will appear out of nowhere, and you'll look back and realize every delay was part of the plan. Every moment of waiting was necessary. Every unanswered prayer was leading you to something better, because God is never late. He's never early. He is always right on time. And when your moment comes, you'll understand He was working all along. Everyone wants the breakthrough. Everyone wants the success, the opportunity, the dream to finally come true. But what if I told you it's already waiting for you? What if I told you that the thing you've been praying for, the thing you've been chasing, isn't being withheld, it's being prepared, not just for you, but for the version of you that's strong enough to handle it? Because here's the truth. Sometimes you're not waiting on your breakthrough. Your breakthrough is waiting on you, waiting for you to grow, waiting for you to develop the discipline, the resilience, the wisdom to carry it, because a blessing given too soon can feel like a curse. Think about it. What happens when someone wins the lottery but has never learned how to manage money? They lose it all. What happens when someone steps into a leadership role but has never learned how to lead? They crumble under the pressure, because success isn't about what you get. It's about who you become. And that's why preparation is everything. The waiting season isn't about delay, it's about development. It's about refining your skills, sharpening your mindset, strengthening your character, because the truth is, the bigger the blessing, the greater the responsibility. And if you're not prepared for it, you won't be able to sustain it. Look at nature. A tree doesn't grow tall overnight. It spends years developing strong roots beneath the surface, because without those roots, it would collapse under the weight of its own growth. And you are the same way. You might feel frustrated right now. You might feel like your dream is taking too long. But what if this time is a gift? What if this season of waiting is actually a season of building? Because when the opportunity comes, it won't wait for you to get ready. You have to be ready when it arrives. You have to be strong enough to hold the success you're asking for, because the dream isn't just about achieving it. It's about sustaining it. So instead of asking, when will my breakthrough come? Start asking, how can I prepare for it? What skills do I need to develop? What habits do I need to change? What lessons do I need to learn? Because when the time is right, the door will open. And when it does, you'll be ready to walk through it, stronger, wiser, prepared. Because the breakthrough was never the goal. Becoming the person who can handle it, that's the real victory. Patience is one of the hardest things to master. We live in a world that moves fast. We want results now. We want success now. We want the reward without the wait, the victory without the struggle, the transformation without the process. But real growth doesn't work that way. Just like a seed needs time before it becomes a tree, you need time before you become the person you're meant to be. You don't plant a seed and expect a tree the next day. You water it, you nurture it, you let it take root. And for a long time, you see nothing, no sign of progress, no evidence that anything is happening. But beneath the surface, something powerful is taking place. The roots are growing deep, the foundation is being built. Because if a tree grows too fast without strong roots, it won't last. The first storm that comes will knock it down, and the same is true for you. The waiting season isn't wasted time, it's preparation time. Every challenge, every setback, every delay is strengthening you, building your character, testing your resilience. Because if you received everything you wanted right now, would you truly be ready for it? Would you have the wisdom to sustain it? Would you have the strength to handle the responsibility? Patience isn't about sitting still. It's about trusting the process. It's about believing that even when you don't see results, growth is happening. Too many people quit before they see the breakthrough. They stop watering the seed. They walk away because they think nothing is happening. But the ones who stay, the ones who keep going, the ones who trust the process, they wake up one day and the seed has broken through the ground. The tree starts to grow. The results start to show. And everything suddenly makes sense. That moment is coming for you, but you can't rush it. You can't force it. You have to trust that what's meant for you is on its way. And when it finally arrives, you'll realize the wait was worth it. Timing is everything. You can have the right dream, the right plan, the right work ethic, but if the timing isn't right, it won't happen. And that's where most people struggle, because we don't just want success, we want it now. We want the breakthrough to come on our schedule. We want the doors to open when we knock, and when they don't, we start to doubt. We start to wonder if we're doing something wrong, if we're not good enough, if it's never going to happen. But listen to me, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Every major breakthrough happens at the right time, not necessarily the time you expect. And when it does, it will make perfect sense. Think about the seasons. You can't force winter to turn into spring overnight. No matter how much you want the flowers to bloom, no matter how much you wish for warmer days, nature moves on its own schedule. And so does your life. You are not behind. You are not late. You are moving according to the perfect timing that was meant for you. Because when the right moment comes, things will fall into place effortlessly. The opportunities will appear. The connections will happen. The doors that were once locked will suddenly swing open. And you'll look back and realize, if it had happened any sooner, you wouldn't have been ready. Think about the biggest successes in history, the biggest inventions, the biggest ideas. They all happened at the right time when the world was ready for them. Not a moment before, not a moment too late. And the same is true for you. Your breakthrough is coming. But it's not just about what you want, it's about when you're ready to handle it. It's about when the world is ready to receive it. So instead of worrying about when it will happen, focus on who you are becoming while you wait. Because when the time is right, you won't have to force it, you won't have to chase it. It will happen so fast, so naturally, that you'll wonder why you ever doubted. And in that moment, you'll understand the timing was always perfect. Timing is everything. You can do all the right things, put in the work, make the sacrifices, stay disciplined, and still it can feel like nothing is happening, like the results are taking too long, like the breakthrough is nowhere in sight. And that's where frustration sets in. You start questioning yourself. You start wondering if you're on the wrong path, if you missed your chance, if it's just not meant to be. But listen, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Every major breakthrough happens at the right time, not necessarily the time you expect. And when it finally comes, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. Look at nature. A caterpillar doesn't turn into a butterfly overnight. A seed doesn't become a tree in a day. The process takes time because growth isn't just about reaching the goal, it's about becoming strong enough to sustain it. If a butterfly's cocoon is broken too soon, it won't be able to fly. If a tree grows too fast without strong roots, it will collapse in the first storm. And the same is true for you. If you get everything you want before you're ready, you won't be able to hold on to it. You have to trust that the waiting season is just as important as the winning season. Because what's meant for you is already set in motion. You may not see it, but it's on its way. And when the timing is right, things will fall into place in a way you never imagined. Think about the biggest successes in history, the greatest ideas, the most life-changing inventions. They all happened at the right time, not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. And the same is true for your life. Your breakthrough will come when you're ready, when you've learned what you need to learn, when you've grown into the person who can handle it. So instead of stressing about the when, focus on the who you are becoming, what you are learning, how you are preparing, because when the moment arrives, you won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. It will happen naturally, effortlessly, undeniably. And when it does, you'll look back and realize the timing was always perfect. Stop trying to control the when. You stress yourself out trying to force things to happen on your timeline. You think if you just push harder, if you just work more, if you just figure out the perfect strategy, everything will fall into place exactly when you want it to. But that's not how life works. No matter how much you plan, no matter how much you try to force it, some things are simply outside of your control. And that's where the frustration comes in, because when things don't happen as fast as you expect, you start to doubt. You start thinking maybe you're not good enough. Maybe it's never going to happen. Maybe you should just give up. But the truth is, your job is not to dictate the timeline. Your job is to prepare yourself for the moment when it arrives. Because when the right time comes, it will come fast. The doors will open. The opportunities will appear. And the question isn't, when will it happen? The question is, will you be ready when it does? Look at the most successful people in the world, the game changers, the visionaries, the ones who seem to achieve greatness overnight. It wasn't really overnight. They were preparing long before their moment came. They were building their skills, strengthening their mindset, developing the discipline they needed to handle success. So when the opportunity finally showed up, they didn't hesitate. They stepped into it with confidence because they were ready. And that's what you need to do. Instead of obsessing over the when, focus on the who. Who are you becoming? What are you doing today to be more prepared than you were yesterday? Because opportunities don't wait for you to get ready. When your moment comes, you won't have time to wish you had done more. You won't have time to regret the days you spent worrying instead of working. All you'll have is the preparation you put in. So stop trying to control the timeline. Trust that what's meant for you is already on its way. And when it finally arrives, you won't just step into it. you'll own it. Faith over fear. That's the choice you have to make every single day, because fear will whisper lies in your ear. It will tell you that you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that you're falling behind. It will make you doubt yourself, make you question your path, make you believe that if it hasn't happened yet, maybe it never will. And the more you feed that fear, the stronger it gets. The more you focus on the doubt, the more you delay your own progress, because fear paralyzes. It keeps you stuck. It makes you hesitate when you should be taking action. It makes you settle when you should be pushing forward. But faith does the opposite. Faith moves you. Faith gives you the strength to keep going even when you don't see the results yet. Faith reminds you that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen at all, because what's meant for you will find you. Not on your timeline, not in the way you expect, but in the way that is right. And that's the key, trusting the process even when you don't understand it. Think about a bridge covered in fog. You can't see the other side, but you know it's there. And as long as you keep walking step by step, the path will reveal itself. But if you stop, if you turn back, if you let fear win, you never reach the other side. Your journey works the same way. You don't need to see every step right now. You don't need to know exactly how it's going to happen. You just need to keep moving forward with faith. Because fear will always give you reasons to quit. Faith will always give you reasons to keep going. Fear will make you believe you're alone. Faith will remind you that you're being guided. Fear will make you panic when things take too long. Faith will remind you that the best things take time. And when you finally reach that breakthrough, when you finally step into everything that was meant for you, you'll realize one thing. It was never about how fast you got there. It was about who you became along the way. Keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing is happening, even when the results aren't there yet, even when you're tired, frustrated, and wondering if it's all worth it. Because the only way you miss out on God's plan is if you quit before your moment comes. And that's exactly what most people do. They plant the seed but walk away before it has a chance to grow. They pray for an opportunity but give up when it takes longer than expected. They stop running right before the finish line, never realizing how close they actually were. But that won't be you, because you're going to keep showing up. You're going to keep putting in the work even when no one is watching. You're going to keep believing even when doubt creeps in, because every great success, every major breakthrough, every answered prayer, it all comes down to one thing: persistence. Look at the stories of the most successful people in history, the ones who changed the world, the ones who defied the odds. They weren't always the smartest. They weren't always the most talented, but they refused to quit. They kept showing up day after day, long after everyone else had given up. And because they stayed the course, their moment came. And yours will too, but you have to stay ready. You have to keep pushing even when it feels pointless, because you never know when things will shift. You never know when the door will open. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be happening right now, behind the scenes in ways you can't even see. And if you quit now, you'll never know how close you really were. So don't let frustration steal your future. Don't let doubt take you out of the race. God's plan for you is still in motion. The timing is still being aligned. The right people, the right opportunities, the right moments, they're all being prepared. Your job is simple. Keep showing up, keep believing, keep going. Because when the time is right, everything will fall into place exactly as it was meant to. It will happen faster than you expect. You may feel like you've been waiting forever, like you've been putting in the work, making the sacrifices, doing everything right, and still nothing. Like the door you've been knocking on just won't open. But when the time is right, it won't just open, it will swing wide in ways you never imagined. Because that's how breakthroughs happen, not little by little, not in slow, predictable steps, but in a sudden shift. One moment it feels like nothing is moving, the next everything changes. The opportunity you've been praying for appears. The connection you needed happens effortlessly. The results you've been grinding for finally show up. And all of a sudden, things are moving so fast that you can barely keep up. That's why you can't give up now. Because what feels slow today could turn into momentum tomorrow. What feels like a delay is actually divine alignment. You're not being held back, you're being prepared. Because when things take off, you won't have time to get ready, you'll have to be ready. Think about bamboo. For years, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it, care for it, nurture it, and still no sign of growth. But then, almost overnight, it shoots up, growing feet in just weeks. Your breakthrough works the same way. What's happening beneath the surface is just as important as what will happen when the growth begins. And when it finally does, You'll realize why it took so long. You'll see how every struggle, every setback, every moment of waiting was leading you to the exact place you needed to be. And you'll understand that the timing was never late. It was always right on schedule, because when it happens, it won't just be what you expected. It will be more, bigger, better, beyond anything you imagined. So hold on, keep going, because when your moment comes, it will happen faster than you ever expected. God's timing is always perfect. Not early, not late, exactly when it's supposed to be. But when you're in the waiting season, it doesn't always feel that way. It feels like things are taking too long, like the door you've been praying for is never going to open, like you're falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. And that's when the doubt creeps in. You start wondering if you're on the wrong path, if you missed your chance, if maybe it's just not meant to be. But listen to me, God does not make mistakes. What's meant for you will never pass you by. And when you look back, you'll see it so clearly. You'll realize every delay had a purpose. Every setback was actually a set up. Every time something didn't work out, it was because something better was on its way. But in the moment, you don't see that. In the moment, all you feel is frustration, because we want things now. We want the breakthrough, the success, the opportunity on our timeline. But if you got everything you wanted the second you asked for it, you wouldn't be ready to handle it. Because preparation comes before promotion. God isn't just working on the opportunity, he's working on you, strengthening you, molding you, building your character so that when the right moment comes, you don't just step into it, you own it. And when that happens, you'll understand. You'll see why it didn't happen sooner. You'll see why certain doors had to close. You'll see why he made you wait. And you'll be grateful. Grateful that things didn't go according to your plan. Grateful that you didn't give up too soon. Grateful that you trusted him even when you didn't understand. Because when you finally step into what he has prepared for you, you'll realize it was never late. It was always right on time. So take a deep breath. Let go of the worry. Let go of the doubt. God's plan for you is already in motion. The timing is already set. And when everything comes together, you'll look back and realize it was always perfect. So keep the faith, keep trusting, keep moving forward, because when the moment is right, everything will fall into place in a way you never could have imagined.